Hey, what up? Richard Bona here. You're watching for bass players only.com, baby. Check it out.
Hi everyone, John Liebman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. We're coming to you on location from the 2020 NAMM show, Anaheim, California, with one of my all-time bass heroes, Mr. Richard Bona. How are you, Richard?
Hey, John, I'm doing excellent. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure, such an honor to meet you. I've been wanting and trying to get this interview for a while, so I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy you're here. So let's let the people hear about you. You're from Cameroon. You spent a lot of time in Germany. You spent time in France, and you've played with a lot of people. You've done some business things. You've done a lot of instrument things. So let's start from the beginning and tell us about your initial exposure to music. How were you come from a musical family, so how were you first exposed to music, and how did you become a bass player?
Actually, through my family. I got exposed to music through my family because my folks were all traditional musicians, playing mostly in church, and that's how I got exposed earlier. Playing all different instruments, building my own instruments. Because as a kid, born in Africa, in a very remote place. You will not find any shops to go get a guitar or something. Like you go I'm gonna go to guitar center buy a guitar. You just have to build.
Is it still like that today, or just when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, in those remote places, most remote places in Africa are still unfortunately like that. Not in the cities. The cities, they kind of, they upgrade a little bit in the city, but villages and stuff. I was born in the village, so
in Cameroon.
In Cameroon, I was born in a tiny little village in the east part of Cameroon.
What's the name of the village?
Minta, M-I-N-T-A.
Right.
And so that's how I started to play with my folks, just banging on anything I could build, or that sounded like something. So I was 3 years old, and then I joined a band, the church band when I was 5 years old. And how do I came to bass is when I moved to the city, I heard this, somebody was playing, somebody played me a Jaco Pastorius album, Portrait of Tracy, the first time. I played guitar by that time. I'm a guitar player at that time, and then I heard this record by Jaco Pastorius I didn't know before, and so that's how I came to the bass. Yeah.
What else? There must have been radio available, or maybe records or CDs or things like that. Did you get to hear some stuff that was not in your immediate surroundings?
We had no CDs back then. We had cassette.
Okay.
I was more
that works.
I was more in the cassette generation, so
Okay.
there was some cassettes and stuff. Not in the village. This is in the city. We had some cassette, definitely. So I learned by playing music on cassette. And then the CD came by. I was already a professional musician when.
Okay, but Bagiti Kumalo I got to know very well. He had never heard of the Beatles till mid-70s or something crazy like that. So I'm just wondering how much of American music or maybe jazz music, European music, how much were you able to be exposed to, whether it was cassette or radio?
Yeah, well, I was not exposed to that music until late 70s. I mean, late 70s, around 80s, beginning of 80s, actually, because I was 14 years old first time I heard jazz music. My introduction to jazz music was actually Portrait of Tracy, Jaco. So everything that I did before was all top 40s playing, making people dance, until I heard this music by, and through that record, then I discovered Weather Report, and I discovered Josiah from there, Ben Webster and then my whole thing started to get wider and wider and wider, and my curiosity and my need in learning, that's still there. I'm still, I'm always going to learn. That's a good thing about music. It's a school that never ends.
Right.
So we students of music for life. So.
Okay. So rather than scare you away, it actually inspired you, Portrait of Tracy. Yeah. But top 40, what American top 40 music?
No. It was African top 40s.
Okay.
Mostly. Yeah.
All right. How about as far as a career goes, at what point and how did that get started?
It gets started when I moved to New York. I lived in Europe back then. Like, as you say, I lived for for a certain amount of time in Europe. Then once I decided to go to the U.S. and then Brentford Marsalis was back then when record companies used to have good A&R.
Yeah.
And Brentford Marsalis was A&R for Sonic at Columbia, Sonic Columbia, and that's how I got signed at Columbia. And then he left, and then I went to Universal, signed by Daniel Richard, Universal, and right after that I became independent, which I am till today. Create my own structures, and I'm managed by Quincy Jones, and I'm independent.
You're managed by Quincy Jones now?
Yeah, now.
Okay.
Been 9 years or 10, close to 10 years. Yeah.
All right. Well, what kind of stuff are you working on now? What's keeping you busy?
Touring, writing music in my studio. We actually going on road with this wonderful piano player from Cuba, and Alfredo Rodriguez, and another Cuban percussion player, which is Pedrito Martinez. We're going to Europe this March and April. So that's the project I'm working on. And last year I worked on a project that I didn't release yet. It's a flamenco project, and I just wanna for now I just wanna approach music as project. I feel like my whole thing is I love all kind of music. I don't want to be stuck into playing the same thing. I just want to have fun now. This is the moment for me to have fun. I left New York. I moved to Miami. I'm trying to do all the things that I like. I want to live in a place where I can see the sunshine every day. Because it's so inspiring to me to see the sun. And I just want to take it easy and really enjoy music right now. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, you definitely look like you have fun when you play and when you sing along and when you move and you smile. You do a lot of very unusual and interesting things with the way you move around and the chordal structure and the dead notes. And how did you come up with your own style like that? Was that in Africa? Did you have an actual bass there, or did you when did you first get a real bass? And how did you develop the technique that you are so well known for?
I owned my first bass, to be honest. I owned my first bass. I was 21 years old. I never owned an instrument on my own, like a real instrument. I built some instrument that I used to build, but like a bass. I owned a bass when I was 21 years old. So back in Africa, we used the club's owner's instrument. Us musicians, we had no money to buy an instrument, so we used the club's owner instrument. So It's not your instrument. You play on that instrument every night, but once you get home, you leave it at the club.
Okay. Did you have access to it between the gigs to practice?
So what I used to do, I lived in a club I lived there. I slept in clubs and I wake up in the morning, just start to play. And they meet me there at night, and I play and I sing. So I get to really enjoy. I used to be the one who had the keys,
Wow.
I get there anytime and just do my thing, which was good,
They said, this guy's not going away. We might as well give him the key to
exactly. I'm like, this is my home now,
So what about those things that I was talking about? How did you develop the style?
It's hard actually to get that moment, the moment where you start shaping your own thing, because it's a combination of a lot of different influences and music that you heard. My traditional music, and I come from my grandfather was a percussion player, so I play percussion a lot. I play a lot of percussion, so when you listen to me playing, you hear a lot of percussion. And as part of my playing, my mother's a singer. I grew up with singers, so you get a melody side in it too. And I grew up listening to Jaco, so you get a piece of Jaco in there. Josao, everybody that I play with kind of brought a little bit of his own touch on my. I smile all the time. I think that's Harry Belafonte today. I was his musical director for 2 years, so from different kind of I get kind of a little bit of everything from everyone, you know. So a little bit of this one, a little bit of this one, the good, the bad, the good, the bad, and combine all that together, and that gives you Richard Bona.
Yes, and what you do is so developed, but you mentioned earlier about continuing to learn and continuing to grow, and we can only imagine what you're going to come up with next.
Oh man, I always say like I forgot who say that. I know that I don't know, and the more I know, less I know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just continue doing where I'm going. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the present. You know, just keep doing it, and I always say one thing: you want to be good at doing something, just do it all the time. Mm-hmm. Excellence is repetition. Simple.
There you go.
You want to be good, do it all the time. Do it all the time. Go get it. Do it all the times. All the great musicians I had a chance to play with, all of them, they had one thing in common: they play all the time. You saw Michael Brecker on the road, all the times. Kenny Garrett, all the times. So you end up going like, you know what? It's actually pretty simple. Just play it, man. Yeah. You want to be a fisherman? Fish every day.
Practice fishing. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Tell me about your gear. What are you playing?
My gear, you know, I'm actually presenting two basses here at the NAMM show. That we are starting to ship soon. Made by Mark Bass and myself, you know. And I've been working with Mark Bass with other projects, but we came up with an idea of coming up with some guitars too, because everybody knew Mark Bass as the amp man, you know. So he's a real Mark Bass now, because he's a part of bass making, you know.
Yep.
So we came up with two models. One is the Kilimanjaro, and the other one is Kimando.
How many strings on each?
Oh, you could order, you know, you could 4, 5.
Okay, but what do you play on your main?
Mine is 5 strings.
Okay.
Mine is five strings, and but you could get 5, 6, you know, and having all kind of choices, you know, which top you want and stuff. But I always wanted to if I'm gonna conceive a bass, I wanted this bass to be a part of kind of all little part of all basses that I like.
Okay.
You know, like I like, you know, I play Fender a lot, I play Federa, I play all this stuff. So I wanted to kind of build a bass that's gonna have all those little, you know, attributes or components. You know, okay. So that's how.
When will these new models be available to the public?
Oh, right after the NAMM show.
Okay.
Right after the NAMM show, you guys can stop by the booth there.
Oh yeah.
And kind of get a sense of what it is. Yeah.
Yes, I've stopped by a couple of times. It was always very crowded, so I'm waiting for the quiet moment to come.
Quiet moment, and Marco can explain the part of it too, and I can even give you a little, you know, 1 minute, you know, just to give you.
I will take you up on that.
Yeah, you could do it at the booth there.
Okay. What about? I assume you play Mark Bass amps then too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my Mark Bass amp, but I started. I got my Ninja that you need to check also. You know, a Ninja head.
Okay.
Because I'm a ninja, so that's how they call it. And even those basses, they call it the Ninja Kilimanjaro, Ninja Kimando, and this head, the Ninja head, that's what the 1,000 watts of little Mark Ninja is called. Gotta check it out. Yeah. Speakers and all those things. You know, so we're building, you know, step by step a little bit of a series of products here. Yeah.
How about strings?
Strings are actually new. We're actually presenting new strings, completely brand new. It's a discovery. You need to stop by the booth and see them.
Mark Bass is making strings now too.
Yes.
How about
make it all, everything?
All right. How about effects? You use any effects?
No.
Okay.
Plain.
So Mark Bass basses, Mark Bass amps, Mark Bass strings. And you said you're a guitar player too, so DV Mark, do you use those as well?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of focused right now into the bass section of Marco right now.
That's the way we like it. This is, remember, for basspleyersonly.com.
Bass player, baby.
That's
for
right.
Bass player only, baby.
Okay. You touched on this, but you said what's important now is the present. But having said that, you must have something in mind for the future. Is there something specific that you'd like to accomplish that you haven't done yet? Because you have accomplished a lot, but you're still young and energetic, and we know that you still have a lot of notes left in you. So, what are you looking to get done that you haven't gotten done yet?
I know not tomorrow.
Okay.
I know now. And right now I'm going to the booth and play. I don't really plan things. I just let things happen at the moment.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I don't want to plan tomorrow. I figure out when I get there tomorrow. That's why when I get to meet people, the moment is right important. Because to me, this might be the last time I get to see this person. So it's very important right there. I don't focus into planning or maybe 4 years from now. Who tells you 4 years from now?
I wish I was wired more like that, because I'm always thinking about what I got to do next.
I know. To me, it's like, no, this moment, me and you right here. You see? Me and my brother right here. And that's, I get to give you the full, full love, full friendship, full respect.
I feel it.
And you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because who knows tomorrow? This was the moment. Yeah.
One more. I want to go back to technique just for 1 second here, because for BassPlayersOnly.com, people have known us for years for all of our exclusive one-on-one interviews like this, and for all the features that we have in the news and things like that. But we have a very vibrant bass instruction component on the site. So to our members here, what advice can you impart to somebody who wants to learn to play the bass? What is important?
What is important on bass? Timing. First. Second, once you practice, sing your note all the times. Sing your note all the times. Because there is an aspect of knowing your bass like this with your finger. There's another aspect knowing your bass like that. I sang so much while playing to the point where I don't actually need my bass if I want to rehearse or want to learn. I want to play a song or something. I actually don't need my bass to practice. I could practice without my bass. That's how good that is.
I had a teacher that had me he wanted me to sing along with my playing, and it wasn't really for the technique building part of it, but he said the phrasing changed and it opened up.
The phrasing changed, and for you to recognize, like if I hear a bass line played in a song now. I'm walking in the hallway. I don't need my bass. I already figure out. You know why? Because I sang a lot. Because now once you're singing, your fingers recognize it, and vice versa. When you're playing, your singing recognize it too, the position immediately. So I could be in my bed sleeping. If you put my hands on the bass, I could tell you, I could give you the note where I am instantly, because that practice immediately, the resonance and everything, the brain is unbelievable.
Yes.
So, and I think it's a beautiful exercise, because it makes it easier for you to find the notes.
I had another teacher at the same school, University of Miami, Vince Maggio, for all you Miami people. And we were in the bebop ensemble. So a couple saxophone players, piano, drums, bass. And he said, don't play your solo, sing a solo. And I said, you mean sing a bass solo? He says, no, I mean sing a solo. It doesn't matter what instrument it is. And the same thing, not only for the technique, but for the phrasing.
It's a different articulation when you start singing too, And it makes you play less. You're no longer busy, because the fingers can go, but the singing has a human aspect in it that is more soulful, because it comes from a human. Once you start singing, you can hear it. Everybody can hear it.
I love it.
Silence. That's singing right there.
Yeah. It sounds to me you are more than a bass player. You are a musician who happens to play the bass. Is that a better way of
When
describing?
you start singing, you started to actually play music.
Yeah.
No matter what instrument you're playing, could be a saxophone. When you start singing on your guitar, woo, boy.
Before we wrap it up, because I'm getting more excited, I just want to ask you if there was anything else that you want to share while we're here together, because we covered a lot, and I asked you a lot of questions, but is there any more that you want to share?
Nothing more. Maybe just to let people know how important music is, and what music brings to us as human. This is very important, music. I wish our lives as human had a reflection of music. We'd be living in a perfect world, because people tend to think that numbers are perfect. Music is perfect. Numbers are not perfect. If I gave you 10 to divide by 3, you can't find an exact number. In music, we find that exact number. So,
That's right.
perfect science is music.
Perfect science. Last question. I have one more question for you.
It's the last one.
No, and then I'll let you go.
Sorry.
What would you be if you weren't a bass player? I'm something outside of music.
If I wasn't a bass player, I would be a bass player.
I've interviewed like 650 bass players. Nobody's given me that answer. Let's leave it at that. Richard Bona, what an honor to sit down with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We are on location at the 2020 NAMM show, Anaheim, California, with our very special guest, Richard Bona. You are watching the #1 site for exclusive one-on-one bass player interviews for BassPlayersOnly.com. And now also more and more people's favorite site for learning bass online. Again, that's for BassPlayersOnly.com. I am John Liebman. Let's play bass.